Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to provide an update on the work of the National Employment Center and my ministry in its work to try to create meaningful employment for Fijians here and abroad. Madam Speaker, the government established the National Employment Center in 2010 to provide a quality one-stop employment creation service in Fiji and to facilitate, coordinate and monitor national employment creation policies in both the formal and informal sectors. And it is good to note that during the period of the Bainimarama government and the current Fiji First government that we have seen two significant things that have taken place. First of all has been the unprecedented 9 years of consecutive economic growth, which in turn has led to a substantive impact on unemployment in this country. Both of these things are, there's a lot to talk about the impact and the outcome of government policies, and I think these particular results show the results of everything that we've been doing. Unprecedented consecutive economic growth, which has led to unemployment drop. In the 2010 and 2011 unemployment survey, we had an unemployment rate of 7.1%. And this was, we had the 2015 to 2016 unemployment survey, which saw a substantive drop from 7.1% to 5.5%. And now, in the 2017 census, we are now seeing unemployment rate of 4.5%, which is very low and good for our country. Within the National Employment Center, what we do is we register people that are unemployed and they are given life skills training. And this training is designed to help them, to develop them holistically, so that they can become more disciplined and productive workers in our society. From 2010 to 2018, Madam Speaker, a total of 12,250 clients of the National Employment Center have undergone this training. And clients are also given counseling and aptitude tests to identify where their strengths are. They're given aptitude tests, and once we understand what their aptitudes are, then they can be given the counseling that direct them in the kind of careers that they should undertake. From 2010 to 2018, Madam Speaker, a total of 20,406 clients undertook this testing. And in between 2017 and 2018, professional counseling and aptitude tests were given for more than 1,000, almost 1,500 clients. People that register with the National Employment Center have been given employment skills training. This formerly we used to do on our own as a ministry, but now we work in partnership with other agencies. Currently, my ministry is facilitating this employment skills training for these clients through the work of the Technical College of Fiji. Madam Speaker, since the center started in 2010, there have been a lot of challenges that we face. One of the most important assets of the National Employment Center is the database that it has put in place to capture the details and the numbers of people that are seeking employment. One of the problems that we have was that there were limitations in this database. The database could not give us the kind of reports and information that we required. There was a limitation in trying to match the demand of employers with an oversupply of low-skilled clients registered with the center. So we had a lot of people being registered with the center and their aptitudes, their competencies did not meet the needs of the employers that were looking for people to employ. So that was a huge challenge that we have, the database and the mismatch between the qualities and the competencies of people being registered on the database with the needs of employers. There was also, third, the problem of trying to identify clients who have found permanent employment. So we would get a lot of people that register as unemployed, and then when they become employed, they do not inform the center, so that the database had a huge number of people that were registered there as unemployed, but who are in fact employed. So there was a need to clean up that database, to have a system that automatically did this, so that we could have that database to always be relevant, to be accurate at all particular times. So that when employers ask for people with a certain skill set, we would go into this database and give them a list of people that were available and had the skill set and the skill base that they needed. And the fourth big problem that we have was getting in touch with clients due to changes in their phone numbers and addresses. I've heard in this House, Madam Speaker, over the past few sessions where people have talked about figures like 52,000 people unemployed registered in our database. One of the reasons that that number was inflated because there had been no proper system to take out those that had been employed but had not been removed from the database. So this has led us to revise that net database, to make it more relevant, to make it more accurate, to clean it and to fix it so that it becomes more user-friendly for those employers that are looking for employees from the National Employment Center. The cleaning of this National Employment Center database was done over a number of months. And I can gladly say that at the end of this exercise, we now have a better reflection of the people that were in that original number that are really unemployed. From the initial almost 57,000 registered clients we now had as unemployed, now the number has dropped down to around 8,700. You have looked at all those that were employed, taken them out, students and so forth, so the number that is left is around 8,700. These are the clients who are currently registered with us and who we know are really unemployed at this time. So the focus now will be then to see how we can work on assisting that group of people get the employment that they need. So the cleanup exercise was thorough, and it involved calling each of these clients, calling all 57,000 of them, getting them to come to the center to update their details and update their records. Moving forward, we now keep records of clients for 2 years. However, if there are records that are more than 2 years old, these are not totally removed from the system, but they're put offline. When they are needed, they can pull back into the system so we can get more details of those that were registered with us in the past. One of the things that we are focusing very strongly, Madam Speaker, in terms of the work of the National Employment Center, is not just to rely on our own efforts, but to collaborate with others. And this is one of the reasons that we signed a memorandum agreement with the technical colleges of Fiji for employment skills training. As we are well aware, the government has given assistance to the technical colleges, and they are providing certificate to qualifications in a range of different trades and competencies. And people that come and register with the National Employment Center who do not have these skills or do not have qualifications, they are encouraged, or we assist them to join the programs at the technical colleges. There are, of course, people that register at the National Employment Center that already have diplomas or certificates or degrees. These ones we can then just give them the life skills training and help them to find employment. In 2016, a total of 35 students graduated from the technical colleges, and in 2017, a total of 155 students were enrolled under the arrangement. Last month, we have also strengthened our collaboration with the Fijian National Provident Fund through a memorandum of understanding. And through this collaboration, it will give us access to information from FNPF so that we will know who the NEC clients are that have joined the workforce and are now registered with FNPF. We know that it's a requirement in FNPF that within 1 month from the time you join the workforce, you have to become a member of FNPF. And if you get that data, if we have access to that data, the NEC numbers, the NEC registration numbers of those that have joined FNPF, we can take their names and their details and update our own NEC database so that we always know who is employed and who is unemployed within the database that we have at the National Employment Center. We have also signed a memorandum of understanding with the Fijian National University. Our national university, the intent, of course, is to undertake research on labor market informations so that we can use the data that we already have in the NEC database to give us insight into policies, policy formulation and decision making for the future. The center also assists clients that visit the center in writing their curriculum vitae, their CVs, how to write application letters, how to present themselves for interview, communication skills, and how to answer interview questions. So all of these services are designed to help people search and look for the kinds of jobs that they need. One other additional development that has taken place now, in the past when people registered with the National Employment Center, we used to give them bits and pieces of paper that noted down their name and what their registration number is with the National Employment Center so that they can quote this number when they join FNPF and so forth. Now we've changed that system so that we're giving them registration cards because pieces of paper are very easily to mislay. They get lost, people forget about them, they leave them in the pockets of their shirts, the shirt gets washed and everything on that piece of paper disappears. So the current practice of paper identification, or the former practice of current paper identification, has now been replaced by the cards. One of the very important work that is currently being done at the National Employment Center, Madam Speaker, is work placement. in terms of local employment. We collaborate with local employers. In Fiji, right now we have around 10,000 employers, and we try to get in touch with them to see how we can get the people that are registered with NEC attached or given 6-month attachment in workplaces so they can learn what it is to actually work in a workplace. Once we have these MOUs in place, our clients are then placed in local organizations for hands-on work experience and to learn basic work ethics before getting any permanent employment. To date, the center has signed a total of 523 MOUs with employers. And if there are employers listening, we hope that more employers will be able to come on board so we can place more of our young people that are looking for jobs into their workplaces so they can get the 6 months attachment. On completing the 6-month employment attachment, employees have been absorbed into permanent employment for both skilled and unskilled workers. And from my records from 2010 to 2018, a total of around 7,676 of our clients were absorbed into permanent employment. These are the ones that we are aware of. While on work attachment, the employer and the center share the cost of the weekly allowance of the clients to help with daily transport, costs and meals. So that's something that's available, especially for small businesses. They have access to this group of people. The National Employment Center is also increasing awareness to local employers to assist registered unemployed Fijians on work attachment and permanent employment. We have organized employer forums around the country to get input from employers on the areas of skill demand that they need, and also input on how we need to improve the work and the service of the National Employment Center. We've had the training institution forums, where we sat with institution forums to identify the training needs that we have for industries so that we can work better with them in supplying that particular need. Now, speak over the past few sessions, we've also talked about the importance of the foreign employment program, and at the moment the foreign employment services, the key program that is taking place now is the seasonal worker program that we're doing for Australia and New Zealand. And now we're moving into a phase where we're trying to recruit people from rural and maritime areas. And in doing this, we work very closely with the provincial offices and also with the rural advisory councils to select the kind of people from each of the settlements that are most likely to do well in the work that is required in Australia and New Zealand. We're trying to distribute the benefits equally across all rural and maritime areas in Fiji. And as a prerequisite, we require all clients to have no previous immigration or police record. They must be able to pass the fitness test and also the medical assessments. With this community-based recruitment, we've seen a marked improvement in the reputation of our workers. Early this year, I went to Australia and New Zealand, and I was able to get that feedback from the farmers that we met. We still now have in place our policy whereby a village or community is placed on a 4-year ban should one of its members abscond or commits a serious offense while on seasonal work. Why do we do this? Because we need to uphold the reputation of the Fijian worker. We have 1,500 people waiting in the wings who want to go. So if the people that do go make a good impression, there will be more doors open for our people. But if the people that do go do not do the work properly, the reputation of the Fijian product declines, and as a result, farmers and employers will look to other countries to get their numbers up. Madam Speaker, in terms of working conditions for seasonal workers, we are working with the Department of Jobs and Small Business in Australia and the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment in New Zealand to looking at client contracts to be able to continually enhance the conditions of work that they have. Since 2015, almost 1,300 workers have taken part in the program. We now send workers to 10 employees in Australia and 23 employees in New Zealand. Currently, as of today, we have already this year sent 225 workers to New Zealand, and that is the number at this month, which is the equivalent of the number that we had for the whole year in 2016. For Australia, so far we've sent 56, there's another 100 to go, and for New Zealand, there's another 70 that will be going towards that we know are already destined to be going for the rest of the year. Many workers, when they first return, they build new homes, they improve their existing homes, they start small business, they buy some livestock, they improve their farms, they buy small agricultural equipment. So these things are having a direct impact on their livelihoods and their lives of their families. We are now into the 4th year in the program, and we are competing with other labor-sending countries like Vanuatu, Samoa and Tonga, who have been in the program for more than 10 years. We are now, one of the reasons that we noticed for the success of those countries, Vanuatu for instance, sends 4,000 workers to New Zealand and almost 2,000 to Australia. One of the reasons that they have such numbers, because they got into the game early, and secondly, because they have liaison officers on the ground who visit the employers and do pastoral work. So that is something that we will also be doing this season. We're looking at putting liaison officers in the ground to do that pastoral work. We have sent workers to other parts of the world before. We have sent them to the United Arab Emirates in the fields of transport, livestock, carpentry and tourism. But always as we look at sending people offshore, we keep the needs of our local industries in mind. We don't want to be sending a lot of our skilled workers offshore and find that we have gaps in our own system. We know that there are shortages in skills in a whole range of different areas in our country. There are opportunities for areas like aged care, giving of care, and that is something we'll be focusing on into the near future. Madam Speaker, the third service that we have been providing under the National Employment Centre is the Fiji Volunteer Services. Since 2012, we have sent 120 retirees to the Republic of Marshall Islands, Nauru, Vanuatu and Tuvalu, with retired teachers expected to leave for Kiribati later this month. These retired people, they assist in the development in these countries, and recently in Tuvalu in the health sector. These retired teachers have put their mark in the regional countries through the improvement of student learning and assisting with community projects including faith-based activities. Reports received from Tuvalu, Madam Speaker, show that previously expecting mothers used to travel to Fiji to deliver their babies. But now with the engagement of our experienced retired nurses in that country, the option of delivering at the Princess Margaret Hospital is now a real option that more are taking use of. With these type of success stories, the government of Tuvalu has shown interest in the engagement of paramedics and other fields and other sorts of types of people in the health sector. Madam Speaker, in terms of self-employment where we assist people to start their own business was something that the ministry was involved in, but over the past few years there's been a rationalization of this. So the ministry is working very closely with the work that is undertaken by the Ministry of Interstate Trade and Tourism, which is providing the small business grants of $1,000 towards micro and small business enterprises, small business ventures, and through which they've also begun their young entrepreneurship scheme for people between the age of 18 to 30. We have also been working very closely with the National Centre for Small and Micro Enterprise Development. And you know, in the future, the development of entrepreneurship and people not just going to university for the sake of looking for jobs, but becoming job creators in their own right is something that will become much more important for the future of our country. In the National Employment Centre, the big thrust that we're having right now is the development of our national employment policy that we are currently finalizing after public consultations around the country. Those consultations have been concluded, and now the policy is well aligned to our National Development Plan, and the next stage will be to take it up into Cabinet. Madam Speaker, through the National Employment Centre, we are creating networks with other agencies and negotiating on labour mobility through existing frameworks to allow our unemployed graduates to get sustainable employment. Also, young graduates are encouraged to pursue entrepreneurship opportunities and utilize the resources and programs available to create employment. Government as a whole has been having a focus on enhancing livelihoods, and this has been seen in all the programs that we had in terms of a focus on infrastructure development, to provide that infrastructure so that people can have access to markets, they can have access to power and water, communications and transport, so they can remain where they are living, out in the islands and so forth, but produce crops, provide services that can be made available to where the demand is. And the demand, of course, is on Viti level. There's a whole focus on that. We have a strong focus on helping people that are in the informal sector, because we know our labor force is basically a number of around 360,000. Two-thirds of these are in the informal and subsistence, in the subsistence economy. So rather than just focus on those that are in the formal sector, there's a strong focus also that those on the informal sector, and coming up with programs so that they have access to income so that they can enhance the quality of their life wherever they are in Fiji. My ministry is implementing a holistic approach in addressing unemployment and growing employment in Fiji, and we are vigorously pursuing programs aimed at reducing unemployment. I thank you, Madam Speaker.